Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome back. I'm glad that I did my Christmas videos a couple weeks before Christmas because I've been sick all throughout Christmas and still not feeling the best, but I did want to get some videos out just to not fall behind on all the end of the year wrap up and stuff. So I do apologize for my voice and stuff. Uh, I'm doing the end of the year wrap up, so it's my reading for the last 6 months. I want to do the hits, the misses, some books that I'm looking forward to in the new year, new releases, and then just kind of what to expect, I guess, for the coming year a little bit. Um, I guess I'll just start. I had a really great reading year altogether, and then the last 6 months has been really good as well. I had a lot more hits than I did misses. Uh, I'm just going to highlight, I guess, the best of them, which still feels like a lot, or you may think so. They're ones that I ranked 4.75 to 5 stars. I don't usually rank things that high, but like I said, I had a lot of great stuff. I guess I'm really finding the books that work for me and that I enjoy, because I had a lot more that were higher than lower. The misses are ones that I still enjoyed enough. I just thought they were okay, so they're usually ranked around 2.5 stars or below, which on a 5-point scale is still absolutely average for a book. So there are some of those books on there are actually quite popular books. They just weren't for me, as you can see from what I chose to rank higher and what I enjoy. I am going to do a wrap up for my best 10 books for the whole year coming up, and I'll kind of go in more detail about how I rank things. But to be the best of the best, essentially, it has to be something that not only did I enjoy reading, or I feel like I learned a lot from it, especially if it's a nonfiction book or one of my Read Around the World books where I'm learning about a new culture or a new country that I wasn't overly familiar with, or just learning something different about them. So it has to bring me something, if it's not just joy. Some of my favorite books bring me lots of tears. Also, stick with me. Something that, yes, some of my favorites were in this month alone, in December, but it's not recency bias. I literally have not been able to stop about the books that I put on that list, or will be putting on that list, since I've read them. And that's uh, another of my reasons for ranking the top 10. And then also, uh, even if it's a nonfiction or a fiction book, if it uh, makes me want to delve deeper. So if it's a fiction book and it wants me to read, or it makes me want to read more from that author, or if I read from a country, more authors from that country, or maybe talks about a topic, especially if it's historical fiction, then I want to maybe swarm that topic a bit and read a nonfiction about that topic or that country, or something that just doesn't make that book just be a one-off for me, and not just something that that stays in my mind, but something that I actively want to pursue more in some way. And that's how I rank, not just will rank my top 10, but why I chose the books that I chose to rank 4.5 or 4.75 to 5 stars, because they're books that really impacted me somehow, but also made me want to go deeper in some way, whether it's like I said, down some rabbit hole, or even discussion. They're books that I want to talk about openly all the time. And that being said, I'll share my hits and then my misses with you. So this is just in the last 6 months. I really don't know why I kept putting off The Kite Runner, but I finally read that this year, and I really, really did enjoy it. So I'll be reading more from Khaled Hosseini. And then Carry On. It's a poetry collection by young immigrants. I got that at a art fair or a book fair in Detroit this past summer, and it just, I want to talk about it, but it's also a book that I want to have others experience, because there's art in there, really amazing drawings, poetry from kids from who basically are refugees from around the world, immigrants from around the world, and just seeing their cultural shock when they arrive in a new country, at a new school, and then are asked the question, you know, like essentially, what is home to you? Who are you? And learning that they are not two separate identities. They are not like, that book was published in Canada, so they are not now Canadian or half whatever country they came from. They are, as immigrants, wholly two things. And the art in that book shows the kids' realization when they take that to heart and realize that they are not halved, they are whole. And it's really something that I wish more people could get their hands on and take a look at. Of Monsters and Mainframes is completely different for me, but I really enjoyed it. I think I was reading a lot of heavy stuff at the time, and that book came exactly when I needed it. It's by Barbara Truelove, and it's a sci-fi kind of irrelevant romp into retellings of different mythology type of characters. So there's like werewolves and almost a Frankenstein version in different aspects, but they form this motley crew in space in this found family, and it's entertaining and fun and sweet, and it was a true delight, especially when I needed it. And then the next two are nonfiction. The Story We Carry in Our Bones is an Irish history for Irish people. So I'm not Irish at all, but it is about Irish pride, and it shows not only their history, but as they immigrated to the United States, the history of the Irish people in the United States as well. And that's by Julian Osborne McKnight. And then the next nonfiction was Dying Every Day by the Seneca in the Court of Nero. And that's by James Romm. And there are a couple other books by James Romm that I do intend to read in the new year. But I really enjoyed this one. Not only do I like Roman history, but he just wrote it very accessibly. And it was almost like a narrative nonfiction where you get to follow the lives of the people in the court of Nero. I finished the Beartown trilogy with The Winners by Frederick Bachman, and I cried and cried and cried. And I still have not stopped thinking about those books. I read them all this year, and they're all complete 5 stars for me. Another one that I can't stop thinking about for completely different reasons, because it was one of the most difficult ones that I've read this year, just because of the so many trigger warnings in the subject matter. It's Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. I really, really enjoyed My Dark Vanessa earlier in the year, but that was also a very, very hard subject matter, because it was essentially a not a retelling, but a companion piece type of story for Lolita, where you get the point of view of the girl who's being being seduced and essentially groomed by, in this case, it was her teacher. And so that had really difficult subject matter, but I think it was a very necessary read. And I feel the same way about Betty. It's a family of indigenous people in the United States. It's a novel, but it's such a heartbreaking story. All the people feel so real to life, but the trauma and stuff that this family had experienced, and what the narrator is the youngest daughter, and just what she had to endure and stuff. It was very very difficult. She had a parent who had mental illness, and she had there was abuse in the family. She had a bunch of deaths of her siblings and everything. So like I said, that one was, I feel like it's very necessary, and I do highly recommend it, but it's one that you absolutely have to check all the trigger warnings, because it is not for everybody. I really also enjoyed Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is it's a historical fiction that takes place in the late 80s. So it's, or I guess the early 80s. It's right before the Challenger explosion, actually, which is one of the shuttles in the United States that blew up upon takeoff. And so they had only just recently allowed women to be astronauts. And so this is a story not just about women trying to make it as astronauts. It's also a sapphic love story, because at that time, you were just dealing with, the end of McCarthyism and all that stuff, and the rebuilding of the modern American family, which is against anything that is LGBT related. And so having to hide their identities as these two women who want to be astronauts fall in love, knowing that their government can kick them out of the program for being women, but then also if they find out that they're in love with each other. So it's very good. Lost Islamic History is another nonfiction that I really enjoyed, by Firas El-Khatib. And that's what it says it is. It's a not a comprehensive history book of Islamic history, but it is a very accessible one. It does detail a lot of interesting things that impact and affect world history, or that are forgotten by world history, when it comes to some of the contributions and stuff that Islamic historians or Islamic like scientists, mathematicians, all those people who contributed often do not get recognized for, especially here in the West. The Little Big Man by Thomas Berger. There is a sequel that I want to read in the upcoming year. This one was a delight. It's almost got a Mark Twain type of storytelling. It reminded me of his Roughing It, how he's just kind of almost this absurdist when he's talking about the weird stuff that happened in his life. And so it's a story of this man who is well over 100 in the story, and he's recounting all these like random things that happen. It reminds me a lot of Forrest Gump, the movie, and how Forrest Gump just like randomly made these appearances or had cameos in these like big world history events. And so that's kind of what happens in Little Big Man. And it I don't know, it was a lot of fun. Sisters in the Wind by Angeline Bowley. That's her new book for the year. I always read hers as soon as they come out. And this one is her third book in a connected series, but it should be read second because it takes place before the warrior girl unearthed and after the Firekeeper's Daughter, which was fantastic. And Sisters of the Wind lived right up to the expectations that I had from having the same characters from the Firekeeper's Daughter continue on into a really great story about the Indian Child Welfare Act and how they get displaced from homes, and then the tribal members or their families are unable to get them back or even locate them. It's also a very important read. The next two are also nonfiction: Anne Boleyn and Elizabeth I by Tracy Borman. I read that for Tudor Timber, about the Tudors, and I really enjoyed it. I also really enjoy that time era, so take that one with a grain of salt. All of the Shaw's Men by Stephen Kinzer, and that is about basically the U.S. coup to overthrow one of the Shah in Iran, and then you learn about Iranian history, and then also the effect that had on Iran in general, and then obviously that it effect and implications that had around the world afterwards. The next was book 3 of The Magic of the Lost. It's the last in the trilogy. That one's called The Sovereign by C.L. Clarke, and I thought it was a fantastic wrap-up to a really great fantasy, a sapphic fantasy series. The Buffalo Hunter was one of the first horror genre books that I truly enjoyed by Stephen Graham Jones. And then I went on to read several more from him throughout the year, but that one is by far my favorite. This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher. It's just a cozy found family fantasy story. Felt a lot like playing a game of D&D, actually. Finally read The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte, and I really enjoyed that one. My Friends, after finishing the Berton trilogy by Frederick Bachman, I read his newest release, and I also really enjoyed that one. The Bridge Home by Padma Venkatraman. It's about child homelessness in India, told from one of the child's points of view, and it was a really beautiful story. Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell. She is one of my favorite authors, and this book was excellent. I will be talking about it more. I already did my December mid-month wrap-up and talked a lot about it, but that also was one of my top 10 of the year. So I don't want to tell you all of them, but since I did talk about that already in my wrap-up, I feel like I'm not spoiling anything there. The same with The Reformatory by Tanarive Due, and that is another horror genre story, but it is so much more than that, and it is a story where the ghosts are not the monsters of the story. So I'll let you watch my other videos for more detailed information on these next few, just because they were all this month. I will do my wrap-up for the monthly wrap-up, and these next few books are all on it. So I'm not going to talk much about them, just stay tuned for more on that. Next time will be Our Turn by Jessie Q. Sutanto, and that is a Chinese Indonesian cast and story, and it's so beautifully told. It's a sapphic story, but you have it. Man, there's so much going on in that story. I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed it. And I don't want to. I could talk about that one all day, so I'm not going to do that here. The next one was Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, and that is another really great story about inspired by true events about the last execution in Iceland. This woman and two others were accused and then executed, or rather she was, of murdering their former employer. And so as she awaits her execution, she goes out to a home and has to be essentially stay with this family who, doesn't want to take in a murderer, has no sympathy whatsoever for her. The only one who even wants to sort of hear her story is a young priest who feels like he's in over his head. And it's such a great story, trying to understand all sides of things, trying to figure out what might have really happened back in this time, especially when it was happening, during the Victoria era, where women are supposed to be moral, and anyone who goes against the stream is therefore demonized in some way or another. And obviously some of the legends and myths about this woman were also, she had to be a witch, otherwise she could have never done something so horrible. So kind of taking in all this, the historical knowledge of the actual events that happened at that time, and then weaving this beautiful story to try to help us understand how it could have happened, what all the players might have been going through, what might have really happened. And there's so much empathy and depth and beauty in such a story that ends very devastatingly. So I really enjoy is a weird way to say it, but I really did enjoy it. The next one is the next new Syrian Girl by Reem Shikari. And that is a story about a refugee Syrian teenager who is taken in by the family of an American Syrian teenager, and how much more similar they are than they once believed. And there's so much depth and so much I guess beauty and understanding, and trying to be empathetic. And I don't want to spoil this one too much, because the whole story about this is the journey, because the girl who was a refugee has endured some really horrific stuff, and that leads them both on a journey that they have to trust and work together to get through. And then the last one that I consider one of my tops of the last 6 months, one of my hits, was Heavyweight. And I did not mean to be, yes, it's a hit. But Heavyweight is Solomon J. Brager's graphic novel about his family history. And his great grandfather was a heavyweight boxer. They're Jewish, so he explores the Holocaust, and his family didn't go to it. They escaped Germany prior to it happening. And so that kind of guilt almost that lives in a family, but also the complacency of and the exploration of empire. So Germany was empire building, and unfortunately, a lot of the Jewish families in there assisted or turned a blind eye as they continued with their empire building. And this imperialism obviously gave way to the fascism that destroyed them. And it's just a really interesting way of exploring how we're all complicit in the things that are done in a way that we benefit from with our privilege and our silence, but do not question or try to stop until it affects us. The misses, I know a lot of people are going to be coming at me for some of these. Red Rising by Pierce Brosnan, I did not enjoy that one. It felt too much like so many other things that I had read, so it didn't feel unique and I had no indication or any want to continue on that series, so I just I stopped. I was very disappointed in Sanditon by Jane Austen. When the last Jane Austen book I had to read, I read this year for Jane Austen July, and then I was disappointed. Death of the Heart by Elizabeth Bowen. I just thought that was okay. It was one of the classics that were on my list. I did not like In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I did not really thoroughly enjoy Alaric the Goth by Douglas Boyne. It was very dry for a history book for me. And the stuff that it talked about, most of it, I learned through other books that kind of broached the topic of the Goths, but I wanted to go into more depth, and then this one just bored me. I was also disappointed and wanted to really enjoy, but did not. The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I also wanted to like Clarice Lispector, and I did not enjoy The Hour of the Star. The biggest surprises of the year. I was surprised that I like horror with Stephen Graham Jones, and then later really enjoyed The Reformatory. So I'll be continuing that in the coming year. And I was also really surprised by how much I really enjoyed Therese Requien by Emile Zola. I definitely will be reading more of Zola's work in the future. That was only it. It didn't get one of my hits because I ranked it like a 4.5, I think. So if I it just barely missed, but I did really enjoy that one. The biggest letdown was Outlander. I really, really wanted to love this. It was a buddy read. My cousin had me read that, and I suggested a read for her. And I was expecting it to be more historical fiction. I told her as much when I finished it, and she did tell me that in the coming books, it leans very heavily on the historical fiction aspect of it, and you get more time travel. So as disappointed as I was, I might actually at least try reading one more in the series sometime. I don't know if I'll get to it in the new year, but I am not going to count it out completely. So I did want to list a couple honorable mentions or hidden gems. These were very good books, but they weren't, the top of the top or anything. but I just want to mention it for anyone who might be, who might get more benefit out of them, or who might just have not heard me talk about them before. So I wanted to mention them. You Will Be Safe Here by Damian Barr. Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. For the Sun, After Long Nights by Fatima Jamalpour and Nilo Tabrizi. That one is the revolution, the women's revolution in Iran. And then Dancing in the Glory of Monsters by Jason Stearns. They Were Her Property by Stephanie E. Jones Rogers. And then Black Against the Empire by Waldo E. Martin and Joshua Bloom. And the last four of those are all nonfiction, but I really did enjoy them. They just didn't, they weren't the best of the best. Say Nothing also goes in there. I just didn't write down the author's name for that. And same with Assad or The Country Will Burn. And then for the book that made me cry the most, absolutely is going to be this Next Time Will Be Our Turn. That one broke me in ways I wasn't expecting. Like wrapping me in a hug and holding me together. It's very, very hard to explain, but I could not read through my crying on some at the end of that book. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about some of my favorite events, since I am newer to YouTube, just over 6 months. And so I really enjoyed Tudor-Timber and Shake-Timber and Sapphic September. So apparently September is my favorite reading month, but I also enjoyed Victober and October. And I am looking forward to participating in Historathon this year. So I'll be reading a bunch of nonfiction books. I did like Nonfiction November because I do read nonfiction throughout the year. But I guess I didn't choose that event specifically because I read it throughout the year. So picking 1 month for it didn't really make sense to me to say it's a favorite. But Historathon is going to be date ranges that you're reading throughout the year as you start with ancient history and go up to modern history. So I am looking forward to that. And I have to read, or I have to finish Lonesome Dove, so I am excited for June on the Range this year. And I have a few buddy reads that I'm really excited about. And also Fantasy February. I really love fantasy, but I haven't been reading that as much as I would like to. And going forward, I do want to kind of make more of an effort to continue and at least make sure that I am still reading some. Some books that I'm looking forward to in 2026 that are new releases. Since I am trying not to buy so many, I will be accessing this however possible, but I know that especially with the ones that are translated and stuff, I'll probably be purchasing those just because I can't find those at the library like I can some of them. So I only put down 13. That's still a lot. And I know that I talked about these before because some of them were automatics for me. So I'm not going to go into detail about those, but Elizabeth and Ruth by Levi Michael. And so that is about Elizabeth Glasgow and her inspiration for Ruth, which I had just read and said that I loved. So I do want to read that book. This Will Be Interesting is the sequel to this will be what was that one called? Sorry. This Will Be Fun. And so the next one is called This Will Be Interesting. And then book 3 of the Echo Archives by Melissa Caruso that does not have a title yet. I'm still waiting also for book 4 of the Locked Tomb series, which this one will be called Electo the Ninth, so I also do not have a release date for that one. The Fertility of Evil by Amara Lockhouse. I described that one earlier, so I'm not going to. And also This Wretched Beauty, which is by Elle Grenier. And then Get Over It, April Evans by Ashley Herring Blake, because that is one that I also, I just read everything that she writes. So the ones that I have added that I have not talked about yet before are Anatomy of Betrayal, and I do not have a release date for this one but this is by Grace D. Lee, and this one, she wrote The Portrait of a Thief, which I absolutely loved, and every couple of months I keep looking to see if she's going to release anything else, and this is the first time I found something that said that she does have a forthcoming release, and it is called Anatomy of a Betrayal. So that's all I have about that, but I know that as soon as it comes out I am going to get it. She Who Remains, and I thought I had another one, and She Made Herself a Monster. Those are both Bulgarian authors translated into English. She Who Remains is Renee Karabash, and She Made Herself a Monster is Anna Kavacheva. I probably wrote that wrong. I can't read my writing, I'm sorry. And then White Moss by Anna Nurkedji is it's by the Nenets community in Siberian Russia, and I had specifically been trying to look for more indigenous people's writing and stuff, especially indigenous Russian peoples that are not as highly talked about, and I found that that book will be released in the new year in English translations, so I definitely want to read that one. Claudio Pinheiro has another book coming out, and that one's called Cathedrals, so I'll be reading that one. And then Conviction by Elizabeth H. Winthrop is out as well, and that one also sounded very fascinating. That one is about a woman who basically converts to Islam, but then gets a boyfriend who's immersed in ISIS, and she, following her own, indoctrination, becomes involved with ISIS, and her family deteriorates, and her mother is been searching for her, been trying to help her, and I don't know, I thought it sounded really interesting. So those are my new releases, and I know that this has already went on for a long time, so I just wanted to reiterate that I'm going to be doing weekly update or bi-weekly updates. So I'm going to do Tuesday and Thursdays postings from now on. I'm not going to be trying to buy except the ones that I've already mentioned, and those are if I can't get my hands on it, or if I don't already have part of that collection, or it's an automatic buy author for me. So I do want to read what I own in the coming year. And I do, for my reading goals, I do want to focus on reading what I own. I do want to focus on my Read Around the World challenge and the classics that I haven't been able to get to yet. So I do plan to participate in some of the events and stuff that I mentioned, but I'm not going to add anything to my TBR. It's going to be participating in challenges and events that I can use, things that have already been on my TBR and that I already have access to. So coming up, I am going to be releasing my top 10 favorite books of the year, and I will also post a video. I got a few books for Christmas, Christmas money, and I just wanted to show my kind of last book. I already did a last book haul of the year, but this would be my Christmas book haul. So there's not that many, but I just wanted to do a video for that in the future, and as well as some of the other videos that I've already been tagged to. And will always do my random suggestions and recommendation videos as well when I'm not actively doing update videos and stuff. So anyway, I'm sorry it's long. That's my mid-year wrap-up, end of the year wrap-up, I guess. And I am surprised that I made it through this without having to like cough or sneeze or blow my nose, because I haven't been feeling good for the last like 5 days. But anyway, thank you, and happy reading, and have a great new year. Welcome to 2026. Thank you.